I think that's a good thing. It's a big
Hey,
one.
welcome to the Draft Indy podcast. I'm your host Grant Sinning, and tonight I'm joined by Brian and Garrett. And
And then we could say, uh,
so it's 2 days after the loss to New England, and honestly, if you had followed me at all, you know that I had set myself up for defeat, and that was honestly probably the best thing I could have done for myself because I'm not feeling that that pang of regret after the end of the game. So I mean, it was I kind of got it back in at the halftime, obviously when we were up by one, but you knew for some reason that the game was not gonna turn out the way you wanted it to. But it was still a very entertaining game. It's probably the best Sunday night football game this year so far. Um, so I guess there's that. So I guess we'll just kind of get going, rolling into our topics tonight. Um, I guess my thought was we kind of ask everybody, how can we save the Colts this season? Is there something that we can do like right now, like with whether it be a personnel move or something? Is there something that can help us change the season for the better? And excuse me, my first immediate reaction is that we have to trade for somebody. And I know everyone hates that immediately, but there's got to be like that third pass rusher out there on someone's team that's not getting enough snap. I don't know who it is, so I'm not going to name any names. But there's got to be that third pass rusher somewhere that might be up for a trade somewhere. I don't know who it is, but it's seriously what this team is lacking. Got into a Twitter debate today, and a guy brought up to me, "Oh, the Colts are second to last in the league in sacks," and then it occurred to me that's that's such a valid point. I mean, we have absolutely no sense of a pass rush. No one's intimidating out there, especially the linebackers, and it's just. I think it could be. I think it's one of the reasons that our team. I mean, our defense has been a little bit better from last year in a lot of regards, but one of the areas that it is lacking is pass rush. And I mean, I think that if we can trade for a someone's third backer, I don't know who it is, but I mean, I think it would really help the team. Garrett, what can we do to save our season?
Well, I think if you're going to look at it defensively, then pass rusher absolutely is the way to go. I can't name any third pass rusher on any team right now. I guess the best way to go would be just to look at everyone's measurables and try to bring in that high upside guy and hope for the best. But I don't even think that's what's holding this team back the most right now. I think the defense is what it is, and it's not going to take a huge jump that's going to allow us to win more games just by adding any one guy to it, even a critical position like pass rusher, which I acknowledge is something we're really lacking right now. I think the biggest problem with this team is still pretty obviously the offense, even though Luck is back and he's at least healthy enough to start right now. There's still clearly it's still not close to the offense we were expecting it to be. And I think at this point maybe we can lower our expectations to the point where we say, okay, it's never going to get to that point where they're going to be producing at the rate of a top five offense, at least not this year. We just overestimated their abilities or the ability of the coaching staff or Luck's abilities or whatever. But I still think they can be better than they are right now, even though they showed some positive things against the Patriots last night. I do think that they need to rediscover the deep ball, or at least they just need to start executing it better. I said before that they need to incorporate more short passes and better passing design in general into the game, and I think they've done that, but they still are missing that explosiveness aspect that they had a lot in 2014, and that's really Luck's strength is throwing the deep ball. I think more than anything else, especially on those play action passes that I think Pep actually draws up pretty well. So until they can start hitting, I think uh, if we were going to bring in one more player, a pass rusher would be the way to go. But like I said, I don't know who I would suggest for that. But if we were going to start doing one thing differently, it would be we have to start hitting those deep balls.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point, and it's really amazing that we haven't really found that this year on a consistent basis with the pass catchers that we have.
And all the speed.
T.Y. Phillip and Dante, they're fast. I mean that's what they do, and it really is kind of an anomaly that this offense hasn't really produced a lot of those long plays, and they really do kind of energize the whole offense. Like when you get a 50+ yard TD bomb, like that does. I mean, I don't know if momentum is a true thing, but it always seems like that's definitely a momentum getter. It gets the defense hyped up, it gets the crowd hyped up.
I've seen statistics about explosive plays, and this is something that I think Seahawks Twitter talks about a lot. I think Pete Carroll has this agenda every game where he tries to hit, I think, 3 to 5 explosive plays per game, plays of like 20+ yards, and the Colts haven't really been doing that. But when you do that, then there's like a 70-something% chance that you're going to win the game because you're just moving the ball, and it sets up scoring attempts that way.
Yeah, I mean, it totally makes sense. I'm gonna unmute our other. He unmuted himself. Brian, what do you want to weigh in here?
I mean, first I'll go off what Garrett says, kind of with the offense. I think the first 2 weeks was trying to find continuity, and we were trying to find it the wrong way, and then we figured out that we were doing the wrong way, and then we found out the right way with Hasselbeck, and now we're back to rediscovering it. So I think finding continuity is obviously the first thing. Now that our offensive line is somewhat scheduled or somewhat positioned in almost the best way possible, that's where continuity begins. But, I mean, Grant, you're right. Where do you find that Pernell McPhee? Where do you find that guy that's kind of a hidden gem that, where can we find the guy that we thought Jonathan Newsom was supposed to be?
Yeah, I mean, really bringing in, like I said, I don't know who it is. I do know that there's one person that I know they're out there. There's pass rushers with the measurables, the force players or whatever you want to call them, the height, weight, speed guys, or or the jump guys, the explosiveness measure guys. They're out there on rosters, but they haven't really gotten a chance to go above people, and that's really, really honestly, like my philosophy, like kind of been going forward, like is kind of looking at athletes, because that's when you fill your team up with athletes. You're in it. You put yourself in the position to win a lot better. They're just, and by athletes, all NFL players are, top tier athletes. Relatively speaking, I'm a big guy. All of those guys could, whip my ass like from here to Indianapolis, and that's about an 8-hour drive. So, it would seriously. We just need people who are, they're just bigger, faster, stronger. And I know they're out there on rosters, not getting a chance to play. They're on practice squads. I don't know where they're at, but there's someone out there we can get.
And that's exactly why this offense is so disappointing, is because unlike the defense, we have exactly that athletic advantage. Like you just said, Moncrief, Dorsett, and T.Y. alone should be enough theoretically to just take the top off any defense. But not only that, you should be able to create explosive plays just on routine plays, and we saw them try to incorporate that more into their offense against New England, where they came out of the gate throwing those short crossers, which I have been looking forward to seeing all year, because New England was playing 2 safeties a lot at the beginning of the game, and they were just playing off. So all you do is you have Dorsett or Ty or Moncrief at the beginning just run, like 3 yards deep and then turn left, and then look, if he doesn't see anyone deep, just hits them, and that's a 10-yard gain. And it's easy. When you have an athletic advantage, you can do that kind of thing and just get cheap yards that way. So it really, even I think when you account for Luck's struggles just as an individual, I think this offense has been underperforming just simply because of that athletic advantage that they have, and that's a lot of that's the big reason why I'm malcontent with this coaching staff, and specifically the offensive coaching staff.
Yeah, and I know where you're coming from, and you had kind of talked about this a little earlier amongst us, but it really is frustrating that we're not really. It doesn't feel like Andrew Luck is developing. It really, honestly, it really feels like he's almost getting worse. And I know that sounds weird, but like what you expect to see from year 1 to year 4, you're not seeing that. Even from year 3 to 4, you're not even seeing that incremental jump, and it definitely hasn't helped, especially in those first 2 games with the offensive line and being blitzed, every play. That didn't help that didn't help him, and then he got injured, and that definitely doesn't help his he hurt his throwing shoulder. I mean, that's just how it goes. And I feel like towards the end of the New England game, you could really tell that his shoulder had been hurting him. At least it was sore. It was enough to kind of affect his game a little bit.
Well, I want to chime in. I want to kind of go back to what you were talking about with the edge guys before. Like, oh, we'll find these freak athletes, and it's almost opposite of what I think they've done. I mean, you look at players like Warner, who seemed like default to us, although he's more like a technical kind of guy. Just knew what to do. Walden, they both know how to stack and shed, but they just can't get around the edge. And when you watch them during the game, it's almost frustrating because it seems like they're doing circles, but they can never complete the circle.
Oh, I mean, I think I know what you're saying. Werner is definitely not an athletic freak by any means, but I'm encouraged by the trend that we saw towards the beginning of the season, especially with these D-line guys. I mean, Henry Anderson he's an athlete. T.Y. McGill is an athlete. Earl O'Kine, athlete. I mean, even though they haven't really got a chance, those last two haven't really got a chance to play a whole lot. I mean, they're still, their three cones are really great. They're big mover. They're fast. They're quick movers for their size, all of them. And I mean, I'm encouraged by that trend, and especially because Dante is also one of those kind of athletic kind of guys. Philip Dorsett isn't like tall, but I mean, dude's super fast. I mean, there's his athlete right there. But I mean. Clayton Geathers, you can look at him. He's a height weight. He's not necessarily a speed guy, but he's the height that you look for. I mean, they're starting to. I think the trend last year kind of got changed a little bit, and he's started to look a little bit more towards those athletic looking kind of guys like Denzel Good. Yeah, we haven't seen him yet, but I mean, for his size, like he's a pretty quick mover. If I remember right from the super regional combine, whichever one of those regional combines. But I mean, I think the trend is there. We see him starting to look more towards some athletes, but I don't know if it's. We'll have to see. I mean, if he has a job next year, we'll have to see. We'll have to look into the draft to get to that. So now I'm gonna switch it over to Garrett, and basically, for all you listening tonight, we are each of us were supposed to bring a topic, and so my topic was that one, and so we're going to shoot it over to Garrett. So Garrett, what do you have for us tonight?
Okay, so my topic is maybe a little bit vague, but it has to do with what we can reasonably expect from a coaching staff after 3 or however many years it's been, and what their performance should be against a team like New England, who they played. This was their 5th time, I believe, in the Pagano era, although I believe Arians coached the first game in 2012. Right? So this is Pagano's 4th game against New England. He's lost all 4 in pretty dramatic fashion. I think this one was pretty easily the closest of those games. It was probably the easiest to watch, too, as a fan, even though it had its fair share of heartbreak and probably, quite possibly, the most embarrassing single play in the NFL, at least this year.
God, I mean, just real quick, I mean, I'm sorry, we'll get to your topic in a second, but oh my God.
Oh my God.
Okay, so when they line up, like, I've had a few beers, I'll be honest, and so like when they're running to the sideline, I'm like, oh, okay, they're gonna bring the offense out, and then all of a sudden, Colt Anderson goes right under Griff Whalen, and he snaps the damn ball. Like, what the hell? Like, I was so confused at this point. Like, I was so illiterate. Like,
it was so funny, man.
Like, just think of it. I mean, my friend said it the best. In the playbook, this is how it's written. Step 1, send 9 guys to the sideline. Step 2, snap the ball. Like what? Like, come on. And then the stuff that comes out today. Oh my gosh.
Whalen hadn't even practiced the play or something.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that's kind of part of what Garrett just said. I mean, coaching staff, that doesn't even need to be flawless execution. That's just like simple execution.
Like, I understand that they were desperate and that they thought they had to make something happen, but oh my God, man,
there's other ways to do
afraid of
that.
your own offense or something? Like,
yeah,
why?
I mean, like seriously, okay, so the play, Griff Whalen has never been the center on this in practice, which they've been practicing for over a year. over a year they've been practicing this play. And Griff Whalen, it's game time. Oh, are the normal centers hurt? Who do we put in?
Who's reliable?
Griff Whalen, super reliable from Stanford. Like, what's he gonna do?
You guys know he went to Stanford?
Yeah, did you? Yeah, he went to Stanford. But look, they practiced last week in the playbook, or they put an audible in the playbook where they don't snap the ball and they're trying to get him off sides. And so, but Griff had only ever seen the play. He had only ever seen the play where as soon as Cole Anderson touched his butt, basically, to snap the ball. And that's exactly what happened. Like, man, I mean, Arif said it the best, like Chuck's looking at him like, why'd you snap the ball? And Griff probably should have looked at him and said, because you made me practice that damn play, and here we are in a game against the Patriots, and you called the damn play. And they scored 7 off that, right?
I think they did, yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
That brought it to the 2-possession game that it was after that.
Absolutely bad. Yes, it was a bad play call, but coaching comes down to little details, and little details like, making sure that the person who's snapping the ball knows that there's been an audible, or first of all, has even attempted this play before, which he hadn't. So you're throwing a guy out there on this trick play who's never done it before, and you put an audible in the playbook, and you don't tell him. Like, that is just one of those details that I just don't understand how that happened. Like,
I think after the game when we were talking about exactly how bad Pagano had screwed up, and this was one of the reasons I wanted to talk about this whole topic, is because people have been talking about, like, well, I'm not arguing that Pagano is a good coach. I'm just saying he's a mediocre coach. But I think that people who say that he's a really bad coach are being a little over the top. And I just don't think that kind of thing is worth arguing, because the difference in today's NFL between like a mediocre coach and a bad coach isn't as significant as the difference between a mediocre coach and a good coach.
The only thing that makes it different between mediocre and bad is the talent around the team and what it can do with it.
Yeah, and this team has already proven that it can win, at least in recent seasons. So when you talk about, like, I'm not sure if I want to get rid of this coaching staff because I'm afraid of the unknown, or we don't know if the next guy we bring in is going to be better, well, I would say don't worry about that so much. I think that this team does still have a certain amount of talent in its core, and that the replacement level coach at the minimum guy, I can't really think, the Jim Caldwell, God forbid, would not necessarily take this team to a much lower plane than Pagano was sustaining it at.
It's so weird because I've praised him, I've praised him for learning, because he has gone from a very, very conservative coach in the 5 games that he coached in 2012 and the early 2013 season. But they did start to learn, and I've given them credit for that. I don't want anyone to think that I just hate on Pagano and everybody, but I did give them credit for learning. They started to go for it on 4th and shorts, or started to go for it in the red zone, on 4th down, just because. They've done some pretty risky 2-point conversions so far this season. All of the attempts have been really smart when they happened. And I give them that, I give them that credit. But there's just, it comes down to a lot of the little details, I think. Like I said earlier, it comes down to like having a game plan ready, not getting blown out. Not getting blown out by so many of these, they look like inferior teams, it's just it. But this season, the teams that we've been beaten by are admittedly pretty decent. But it's I don't know. It's just,
well, we're supposed to be pretty decent too. That's the frustrating thing. It's not necessarily that other teams have looked great against us. It's that we just haven't been competing at all on the level that we were supposed to be.
And the thing is that we weren't supposed to be pretty good. We were supposed to be the top offense. We were supposed to be the AFC's best. And
there's no real. I went back and looked at some 2014 stuff, and I didn't see any cracks that I thought would translate into taking this offense just down to such a low level in 2015. And especially when they added all those new weapons and stuff, and even now that they've got their offensive line somewhat together, although there's some kinks to work out. It just
At worst, you thought it would plateau. I mean, like you said,
Yeah.
you replace Richardson's touches with Gore's. You replace Reggie Wayne's with Hilton, and then who was the other wide receiver that we replaced with Andre Johnson? You think at worst it plateaus?
Yeah. And if it was going to get worse, then we would assume, oh, it's because the offensive line is just horrible, or Gore didn't work out and they can't run the ball. But even then, you would think, I mean, they've dealt with that stuff before, so they should still be able to pass. But yeah, it's been so bad that I think that Luck just has been completely uncomfortable, and that's just making things worse. It's this vicious cycle that they've gone on. And it began, again, admittedly, against two very, very scary defenses that really just beat the crap out of this team, and perhaps that's what began all this. But even so, they need to be stronger than that. They need to be more resilient.
Yeah, and then we went 13-13 versus the Jags, and then it was a close game against Tennessee. I forget the score of that one. I don't remember the score of Houston.
35-33, I think.
Yeah, that was a close one. Was the Houston game was close too, right?
I can't remember the exact score, but I think all the Hasselbeck games were close. So
yeah, I mean, and that's what you'd expect of a backup quarterback. But I mean,
Yeah.
even though he did play really
good job, Matt. By the way, good job,
Yeah.
Matt.
I mean, the only thing that you can ask out of your backup quarterback is to win 50% of his games.
I wasn't even asking that of him. I thought we were going to lose at least one of those games, but he played way better than I thought he would. So it was pretty cool to see that, actually, because when an older guy who's had a good career gets to win his last couple starts in a situation where everyone was writing him off, that's pretty cool to see. So that was enjoyable.
And here's some cool stuff that I want to talk about real quick. Since Jack Mewhort has moved from right tackle to left guard, in those 4 games, he has given up 1 sack, 1 hit, and 4 hurries. Now, I know that's this in the but here's the other. In those 2 games he played right tackle, he gave up 1 hit and 3 hurries. So, I mean, they're pretty even. He's played pretty well this season, but basically, as he's moved to left guard, I don't know. It's his natural position. Like I've said it. I mean, I think we've said it all along. Like he wasn't a tackle, he was a guard, and he was a really good left guard with a really, really good chemistry with Costanzo, and you can definitely see the improvement there. And you can also see the improvement from putting Joe Wrights on the field. I mean, just being able to shift out one of those guys, like just shifting out. Actually, I mean, they shifted out both of them, which is amazing. That I give the coaching staff kudos to that one too. They realized that Lance Lewis and Todd Harriman's weren't the answer, and it was very obvious. But I mean, they noticed it early, and they've made the adjustments, and the offensive line has been more consistent and better.
Hold on, Grant. That's one thing I wanted to say. Even when we played the Texans, remember they were showing that graphic of like, oh, J.J. Watt's done this and this against 4 games of the Colts, and they shut him down completely.
Yeah,
I think it was 1 hurry he had that entire game. And he's even coming from the right side, which is supposedly our weak side. So I almost want to say maybe that was Pagano, or Pep, or somehow. I don't think that's gotten enough credit this year for completely shutting down the best defensive player in the league.
Yeah. Go ahead.
There have been a lot of improvements, like tangible improvements from this coaching staff. But I mean, all of the improvements have been looking at things that they thought they were going to come in here and do, their systems, their philosophy, and they're looking at them and they're saying, oh, wow, this is really, really, really isn't working. We need to figure something else out. And the things that they're doing now, like with Pep and the shorter passing game, like with Pagano and being more aggressive, we've seen that they're just not really naturals at that. And I'm not sure it's really reasonable to, like with Pagano's big goof against the Patriots in the 4th down play, like with just this offense's inability to be explosive while also being consistent in the short passing game.
Yeah, I mean,
so even when you see improvements, that doesn't mean necessarily that you can't bring in better people, that you can't upgrade the team.
No, and I'm not saying that either. I'm totally on your side, man. Like you're preaching to the choir with me, and I don't know about Brian, but I mean, I know a lot of people are starting to feel this way. But I mean, it's just really started. I mean, it's really the improvements that he has made. They're good, but they're not the
answer
improvements, like the ones
when
that
you make an improvement from here to here, and you're supposed to be here, is it really an improvement?
Yeah, I mean exactly. I mean it's just, I mean this little things, they've been able to get on track, but I mean it's still they're not coaching at a level that they need to be coaching, and it's become pretty apparent, and it'll be really interesting to see what happens kind of as the season goes forward. So let's get back to your topic, Garrett. Sorry, we kind of got off
No,
topic with
actually,
the.
I don't think we did because my topic was about what's reasonable to expect from
Mm.
coaches this year, and we said that they have improved.
Did he just lag out?
Kind of represents that is Pep because he came in from Stanford. They thought, okay, we're going to do the same thing that Pep and Luck did together in 2011 when they were like one of the best offenses in college football and they were dominating everybody. The thing about that was that Pep's offense, ideally, and Stanford's offense today, like if you turn on a Stanford game, they still do this. It relies on a dominant O line. Like pretty much for almost everything they do, they need to get that O line to just blow everyone else off the line. In their pass plays, they like to go deep, and in their running plays, they like to go straight ahead up the middle. And they need to be able to maintain leverage throughout the game, meaning they don't want to get into obvious passing situations. They don't want to get negative plays. They want to get at least 3 yards on every play, etc. And they just haven't been able to translate that into the NFL because they don't have the offensive line talent to be that completely dominant. And they tried to. That's what they were trying to do at Stanford in last year in 2014 when they only won I think 8 games because the offensive line just wasn't being as dominant as it had been in years past, and that's basically been the way it's been for the Colts every year. And Pep has had to adapt to that over time, but he's not a natural at that. That's not his thing. So if we're not going to play to Pep's strengths, why are we keeping him here?
Exactly. I mean, that's the whole thing behind the T. Rich trade. It was, here's our, almost say, like, here's what Toby Gerhart was, like, what he was in Stanford. Like, here's our guy. Here's our cowbell. And it didn't work out. I mean, you said, like, deep passes and runs up the middle. And, yeah, our most efficient way is short passes and trap runs and runs on the outside. So, like I said, when you have one philosophy that contradicts what's actually working, it's like, well, what's the point?
Yeah, and kind of going back on this coaching staff thing, last year we gave, over the offseason, I know Brian and I at least gave a lot of credit to Minuski for scheming blitzes open. I haven't seen that this year. I don't know. I don't know why. It's pretty much. I mean, it's the same linebacking personnel as last year, but I mean, the line players are obviously improved in a little bit of different aspects. But I mean, it's
got to be coverage.
I was
Yeah.
thinking that.
Like you think about guys like Newsome, who
That's
he
true.
had that open tackle or he had that untouched sack that he had last time, which we saw a lot more of. But I mean, it's just Muneski. I mean, that's what he would work with, and so when he had that, you could see it, and it was especially big on third down. Like 3rd and 5, 3rd and 6, when you're jamming guys at the line. Not letting them get a lot of separation. And even though Lowry's played good, and so has Mike Adams, it's just that those third cornerbacks haven't been able to do what they did last year.
No, and Toller has not looked good at all.
Hey, Toller looked all right last game, but that was, I don't know what PFF says or whatever, but it looked like his best game against the Patriots. It looked like he was showing up the most, but, I mean, okay.
Yeah, I mean it's Greg Toller. I mean he's not getting any better. He's hit his peak, and okay, so wait, hold on. That was week 6, right? Okay, so when are they activated off the pup? Dujon could come back when? Do we know? Is it week 8?
I thought it was week 8.
I thought it was 9.
Okay, so it's coming up. So
No, it's after the bye.
Halfway through the season.
Yeah, so basically he'll probably come back around the bye. I'm wondering if he's going to come back, or if hopefully I don't remember what he went out with, but hopefully he's healed up because we definitely need some of that cornerback depth. They're rotating the bottom of that cornerback depth a lot. I really don't know who's there right now. I think we just signed someone, today, but I don't know who it is, and I'll be honest, I've never watched him in my life, so I mean.
I'm not going to learn his name.
Huh? Oh yeah,
I'm
you
not
said
gonna learn his name. Not gonna
no.
bother.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, no, I mean, like I literally forgot they signed Marcus Thigpen until they were like, we've released Marcus Thigpen. I was like, oh yeah, he was on the team for 2 days. Like, okay, like, I mean, those guys come and they go, but so Brian, it's your turn. What is your topic for this evening?
My topic and/or hot take is T.Y. Hilton actually the best receiver on this team, or is Dante Moncrief better? I know I kind of flipped out at Matt Harmon this year after like the first game when he was like, "Oh, Dante Moncrief, he's gonna be the best receiver on this team," and I'm really really high on T.Y. Hilton. So I think he's one of the best route runners in the NFL, like bar none, a top 10 route runner, top 15 guy. But I mean, if he's just running drags and he's he's running those drag routes, he's running those curl routes. I mean, his route running is still great, but even over the middle of the field, when Luck overthrows it a little bit, he's not really still that good at going up and getting the ball. I mean, what was it, 4th and goal, or 4th and 1 at the 3 or whatever that situation was against the Patriots. I mean, he threw it up to Moncrief. He didn't throw it to Allen. He didn't throw it to Hilton.
I'm sorry, can we talk about that one play call real quick? Because that was just stupid. The end zone fade on 4th and 1, like the lowest percentage play there is. Why?
I hate those so much.
Why?
You have no idea how much I hate those.
But
I was like, and it worked.
it worked.
It was the opposite of the.
That's what I'm saying. They chose Moncrief.
They did.
Like
And
Moncrief. I know
and
we
he
were talking
did-
about this before. Moncrief and Luck still don't maybe have that connection when Luck's rolling out of the pocket, but Moncrief finds Luck more than Hilton finds him.
Yeah, for context, that was something I said earlier. I said that Moncrief still isn't really, and maybe Kyle said this on the podcast last time. I can't remember, but yeah, something I saw today when I was looking at the L22 is Moncrief doesn't always adjust that well when Luck is on the move and looking for someone to get open. Because what you want, once the quarterback kind of designates you as the guy he's going to throw to while running, then you want to stay on whatever course you want to maintain your current trajectory. But Moncrief will occasionally make these small movements or adjust his routes while the ball is in the air, and that's not something you want to see, or something that you will see from a good quarterback-receiver relationship. And Moncrief is still young, so they have time to develop that. But I think Ty is just generally better in that respect.
Ty he's a better route runner. I'll say that. I think he's better in the middle of the field. I think his speed overall is just a little bit better on film. But I mean, they're using Moncrief a lot more this year, and he just looks like a completely different player from last year. Because I'll admit it, I kind of, not that I wrote him off, but like with the whole Dorsett thing, I thought Andre Johnson wasn't washed up. I thought Frank Gore was, but I switched that up. And so I thought Moncrief was like the 4th or 5th guy, and I was like, way flashback. Oh, Duron Carter's playing great in the red zone, and they're not going to use, like, when are they going to use Moncrief? So I was like just flat out wrong on Moncrief. So, I mean, I've never been so happy to be so wrong, because he's turning into that like high-end number 2 guy where he's the best receiver on a couple of teams in the bottom end.
I got a question. This is a provocative question. Would you rather have Dante Moncrief or Martavius Bryant? Ooh, I see your faces.
I'd rather have the Steelers' offense.
Yeah, I'd rather have their scheme. Yeah.
I'm sticking with Dante. My man Dante with the bass guitar touchdown celebration.
I see your face, Brian, and I know you want to say Martavius.
I was high on Martavis Bryant coming out. He's
right now. Who's the better player?
Martavis Bryant's a better player.
I think I've watched like 2 Steelers games this year, so I have no
Well,
idea.
he's only played in 2, so.
Yeah, but he
Watch
has 11 touchdowns in his 12 games.
He is.
What's I
someone
just remember. Oh, go ahead.
Someone said it, and it won't get out of my mind. He is Randy Moss, born again.
Okay.
Oh,
Okay.
Not nearly as good. Not
Nope.
nearly as good yet, but
Not
they
even
play the exact same way. They play the exact same way.
I'm kind of with Garrett on this. I mean, we hear, Martavis Bryant, coming out of Clemson, wide receiver university. I remember when he played against Florida State. I mean, and Taj Boyd tore it up that game because Sammy Watkins and Martavis Bryant were playing great together. And I was like, oh, who's the secondary wide receiver for Clemson? And then I was like, oh wow, explosive guy. That third, fourth round guy you're gonna get. And then I remember he sat out or he was injured. He came back around a year ago, around this time last year, and then he's torn it up. But I don't really know enough about his game. I've watched Moncrief and I know how to use Moncrief, or at least how the Colts use Moncrief. Bryant, you say Randy Moss, but I don't know exactly how they're using him.
Maybe a C plus Randy Moss. I don't know.
Maybe a B minus.
Yeah.
I give him the comp I liked is how they played together. I guess not necessarily the level of greatness. Well, not together, but played pretty similar. It's pretty interesting, kind of going back through draft notes and then looking at my notes between Martavius and Sammy. And honestly, I think now I'd rather have Martavius than Sammy. I know that's kind of weird, but
I think I would.
I just think that Martavius is just an absolute animal. They said it on one of the podcasts I was listening to. They call him the alien because he's so big and fast. It's just, I don't know. But that was just a provocative question. But can you have both? That'd be pretty cool.
Pretty cool.
So going back to that, who's better, Ty or Moncrief? It's interesting because they do different things, but they do the things that each of them do. I think they do equally well. But I think going forward long term, I think long term Ty ends up being better, just because his routes. You're right. His routes are absolutely insane, and I think at the end of the day, he's still really fast. He's still got that speed, and he's with that ability to run those routes, with that quickness. I think that's what makes him so unique. But not to say that you're right though. Moncrief could very well easily be one of those number twos who's better than some number ones on some teams. And right now, you might consider him, maybe number two, maybe number three, whatever you want to say. And he is better than some of the number ones on a lot of teams right now. Dez is out, so if Moncrief would absolutely eat on the Cowboys offense right now because they don't have a number one. He's better than the Browns guys. He's better than Travis Benjamin. There's a lot of teams that's already true for. Like I said, I think that they do different things equally as well, and Moncrief is still learning to control, do some of that body control stuff, like we've said before, and it's just, and as he gets better at that, I think he'll be the better red zone threat, obviously in the end, because he's got those ups and he's got that height. But I think when you're looking at as a down the field, getting open, making good catches, I think Ty is going to be the guy for that.
Yeah, if every down guy, I'll pick Ty, but we talk about the struggles that the Colts have had in the red zone. Darren Carter's going to replace that. We have tight ends, we have receiving running backs, that can do that. But if that's not getting done, then I think Moncrief could, that red zone guy. It's not crazy to say he could perennially have 10 touchdowns per year, even if he doesn't, even if he has less than 1,000 yards, 900 yards, but 10 touchdowns. That's still very, very likely, even if some of those are on 40-yard bombs.
Yeah, and speaking of pass catching running backs, I'm excited that Bradshaw's back on the team. I know he didn't have a big effect in the last game, but they signed him on Friday, played on Sunday. After being suspended and not being on the team, that's to be expected. But I think going forward, getting Zerlon Tipton to be the number 0 running back is going to be.
Why is he playing so many snaps?
He played every single third down. Zerlon Tipton was in. I was absolutely, my mind was blown. Why? I don't understand. All you have to tell Ahmad is, pass block from the left. Pass block from the right. Just kind of. He's a good pass blocker. Ahmad Bradshaw's always been one of the best pass blocking running backs. And I know they just signed him, but the playbook's not new to him. I mean,
No.
at least concepts are new to him.
I mean, red zone efficiency, like that's something huge. I mean, he had like six touchdown
Yeah.
He was on
catches,
pace for the
and
record.
like
No,
he was averaging one a game.
he only needed like 2 more for the record. Like
I know, and I really wanted him to get it. I was so sad when he got hurt.
So I mean, I think getting him into the game more, getting him up to speed is going to be really good because a 1-2 punch of Gore and Bradshaw is, yes, it's really old, but it can be really effective because we saw last year Bradshaw could just grab those, like he was so good on third down catching the ball, making things happen, and Zerlin Tipton isn't that guy at all. Josh Robinson's probably going to end up probably being kicked. I don't know where he's at. He might move to the practice squad at some time, but I mean,
He has not looked good at all.
he has not
Right,
looked good at all. It's just unfortunate because we were all pretty high on him just from his being able to get low, stay low, but still move his legs and be powerful. But you didn't see that in the NFL at all. You saw an undersized back.
I'm not giving up on him yet. I mean, I think most of the problems I've seen with him are actually just him making the wrong decision behind the line of scrimmage. I don't think it's completely because of his physical limitations, whatever you think those are. And a lot of running backs. I mean, he is a rookie, so it's time for him to improve. But yeah, he has not looked anything close to what we'd hoped he would be based on his preseason.
No, and I mean, to be fair to other rookie running backs, Melvin Gordon was drafted at 15, and he's looked awful. I mean, he's looked really, really bad. He's had like 5 fumbles or something like that, and only like 300 yards from scrimmage. Like
He's made Phil Dorsett not look like the worst first-round pick.
Okay, I know we're not in draft season yet, but since we're on the subject of running back, are you getting excited? Are you getting hyped for draft season?
Look, today I read my first Dane Brugler article, like his, that weekly like stock up, stock down, and I'm reading through it and I'm like, all right, it's time. Because I'm
time.
like I know like I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer, but like I'm not too optimistic about the outlook of this team. So I've been ready to look. I'm ready to look forward to next year. But not in the sense that I've given up on the season completely. But I mean, it's a little bit of preparation goes a long way, especially when we're trying to be the top tier content providers that we normally are. So
I know, but we're going to be right in that middle, 20 to 25 worst place to want to have.
Yes.
Because like a little too high to trade back in the second. Like, don't want to trade up. Well, we could, but like it's that gray area.
I'm honest. Like I advocated for it last year, and I'll advocate. Like I know we'll probably be you're right in that 20, and I'm totally advocating. Like we had said last week, like we drafted the cornerstone of the team in Luck, but the rest of the foundation, the pieces, haven't been put on the team necessarily yet. Trading up and getting one of those pass rushers could be a smart idea, and I know
Except none of them are good.
Hey.
We had the opportunity last year when we could have drafted Preston Smith or Randy Gregory, and now we've jinxed ourselves, and there will never be a good pass rusher in the draft again.
Did you see Did you see the article that said that we were going to draft Shane Ray?
Probably. There were a lot of bad articles last year.
No. This one came out like last week. Like it was said what? Something. The Colts' target was Shane Ray.
Oh. Oh my God! Really?
Oh no.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, no.
We dodged a bullet. I'm glad we got Dorsett. I take it all back.
See, you can, and there's other players, that you could say you take it all back, but I mean, yes, none of us were big fans of the Philip Dorsett draft pick, but it looks like he'll end up being an okay player, a fine player, which is good. It's everything that you want, but, at the time, it was such a shock because we had all been preparing for, like that edge rusher, the safety, or cornerback even maybe, I don't know. But,
linebacker.
Wide receiver was literally the second least likely pick.
Behind quarterback.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it was. So, I mean, you never know.
Yeah.
But, So go ahead and go back to your draft topic. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Anyways, I know we're all kind of getting excited for draft season a little earlier than I was expecting, just because not only have the Colts been bad this year, but the NFL in general has been pretty trash. Do we all agree on this?
Yes.
Am I wrong in assuming that college football has been a more enjoyable experience this year? What about you, Brian?
The NFL is the most overrated thing of all time.
Let me just say something that Eric Stoner said, and this is so true. The NFL is entering its early 2000s
Yep.
NBA scene, and it's so true. It's so true because think about the NBA in the early 2000s. Michael Jordan is just gone.
I was born in
Wizards.
Grant, I was born in 1996.
Oh my God.
Same.
Okay, so Michael Jordan's retiring. Have you guys heard of Michael Jordan?
Washington Wizards, NBA.
Yeah, Washington Wizards. He's tall. But anyways, their superstar is gone basically, and we're kind of entering that transition phase right now because all of the really, really good players, I mean, of the past 10 years, they're getting ready to retire. Manning, Brady, those guys are getting ready to retire.
Is Manning still in the league?
Huh?
Is Manning still in the league at this point? Is he?
Oh man, I feel bad for Broncos fans. I do.
They're just a QB away.
They got Brock the Shock,
Osweiler. No, I mean, I get what you're saying with for how long has it been? The last 5 years, the Rodgers, Breeze, Brady, Manning, and now it's
Rodgers,
Rodgers, and then everyone else.
Yeah, and so we're gonna. I mean, and everyone's been trying to hope that Luck and Wilson and
Tannehill, Bortles,
Griffin, but the true savior, the true savior is Cam Newton. I mean, I know this is the Panthers podcast, but if you're not in absolute awe of Cam Newton this season, then you don't like football. That dude has been playing some amazing football, and the team has just been so scrappy around him too. It's amazing.
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah, I mean but yeah, we're okay. So I'm sorry again. I hijacked you again. Go back to draft stuff.
Yeah. So since we're on the topic of running backs, I was just going to say let's have a little bit more fun part of the podcast where we can be optimistic and think about, oh my God, what if ex-college running back who's having a Heisman season came to our team next year and just saved everything? Who would you guys want it to be? Who's your favorite running back right now? Assuming that Chubb can't, isn't going to retire from football this year.
Please, I hope not. If Nick Chubb is done with football, I may be done with football. I mean, obviously, I'm never be done with football, but that kills me. But I love Ezekiel Elliott. I mean, I'm team don't draft running back in the first round, but I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is just the stuff he does. He makes it look so easy. He honestly may not be trying. I'm sorry,
I've been thinking maybe that's what the entire Buckeyes team is doing.
He's just so elusive. He breaks so many tackles. He doesn't look the size he is. I mean, he looks around 200 pounds, but he's 225, 230, and I'm sorry, he is absolutely amazing. I always wait to buy the hype on running backs, but I mean, what he did last year and what he's still doing, I mean, oh man, what I would do to have Ezekiel Elliott. I don't care if we go wide receiver, running back, back-to-back first rounds. If I get to have Ezekiel Elliott.
Yeah, I like running backs. I like running more than passing. It's probably my favorite part of football.
Which is another part that one thing us on Twitter have actually hopefully correctly prognosticated is that it's time for the running backs to come back, and they are making a comeback, and it's going back to the way football was supposed to be played.
The age of passing is over.
I think you're right. I mean, it won't ever go back to what it was, obviously. But
wait, you mean we can't run full house with Tyler Vargas, Ezekiel Elliott, and
we should keep Josh
and Bradshaw?
No, okay, so okay, that just that being on the field, I would probably have an aneurysm from being so angry. But but I think you guys are right. I mean, the passing rules have really dictated it back that way. You can't. I mean, receivers are protected a lot. A lot. And moving back to the running back is going to be really interesting because the defensive schemes have started to, and that's why, and I think this is going to play into it. The defensive schemes have all evolved to pass defense, leaving that run defense that middle of the line toughness kind of not necessarily in the forefront anymore. And when you can get teams that can just run the ball down your face, like
But
that's
the
when
thing is, teams that have that, like for instance, Adrian Peterson has said this year how much he's upset with the Vikings because all of his runs are coming out of the pistol. The thing is, teams are passing too much out of the shotgun and out of the pistol. Is that when they try to run and they line up in the I formation, teams know. So the thing is that we progressed too far with the spread offense. Is that it completely ruined the running game? Because now look, Adrian Peterson's upset. When Adrian Peterson's upset, that's when you know that you did something wrong with your team. So like teams aren't passing out of the I formation or the split I or even single back anymore because they just don't. So that's we progressed almost too fast because now running backs are just running out of the shotgun all the time, which is something I just don't like.
I mean, they don't. Yeah, I mean, it doesn't lend itself to that smash mouth football that's so fun to watch. And it's interesting because Peyton Manning is the exact opposite. Like, he gets in the Gary Kubiak offense and he's playing a lot from under center and he's looking awful. I mean, he's looked awful all season, mind you. But like when they moved him back to the shotgun more, he started to be a little more productive. But I mean, he's still not looked really at all like Peyton Manning, and it's sad that we're seeing the end of his career kind of come down to this. But in the end, all the old great ones pretty much go out like this.
Except Brady, apparently.
Yeah, except for Brady. Yeah, wow.
He's amazing. God, he's so good.
Yeah,
he really is. I've tried to deny it, but I can't. He's just an amazing quarterback, one of the best ever.
Just like you can't deny Bill Belichick. Like no matter how much you can hate him for Spygate, Deflategate, whatever, all those gates, all the gates and Gazis or whatever, and he's just better than you. Like he's a top 5 coach, he's a top 5 GM, and top 10 GM. Okay, but I mean his teams are very successful, and that probably comes down to the coaching and knowing the exact strengths and weaknesses of his entire team. But that's beside the point. Like but I still hate him. Like
I think Colts fans used to criticize him by his dinking and dunking offense and stuff. And I think Colin on Twitter said something about this, like, oh, you mean the kind of offense that 5 years later, like literally everyone is trying to run?
I said this last week on the podcast. I remember I went on a rant about it. Well, it works. Like like I said, like all these teams are doing it, or all these teams are trying to do it, or they're not trying to do it because maybe they don't think it works, but like they've shown that it works.
Yeah, and it's not easy to execute just because the passes are shorter. I mean, it takes a certain element of precision. I don't even know if Luck has it to execute that offense the way that Brady does. So, anyways, enough. Forget him. I still hate him. So we'll stop talking about him now.
Okay, so last thing, I'm trying to wrap it up. I gotta be up early. But I know for you, it's only like what 6 o'clock, 6:30 ish. But
I've been up since 4 this morning.
Yeah, me too.
I just woke up.
Wow. Okay, I hate you both. So let's kind of go real quick. I don't know if you guys have watched a lot of them this year, but how do you think we're matching up to the Saints coming up on Sunday? And do you think that we can pull a win out on this one?
I'll take this because my best friend here is a diehard Saints fan, so I know everything there is to know about the Saints, which is kind of sad because their team is awful. But I mean, I think their pass catchers aren't very good. Cooks isn't we liked what he was last year. He's not really that this year. So I think we'll be fine against them. And then where they are good is running backs, which helps us because our run defense is surprisingly great now. And so, I mean, although a lot of the runs aren't, straight up the middle, I still like what Perry, Langford, and Henry will be able to do. I'm obviously worried about guys like Ingram, coming out of the backfield, even Kyrie Robinson. They make great catches out of the backfield. Sean Payton's going to know what to do with them. But I think there's one quarterback. His last name's Bro, like Breaux, Bro. He's playing out of his mind on the Saints right now.
Did you know that he's the guy from the CFL?
No.
Wait, is he?
I'm pretty sure.
Oh wait. Oh, I remember this. Yeah. Oh, I remember. Yeah.
He's the guy from New Orleans who played in I'm pretty sure he's the guy who played in New Orleans on the New Orleans Arena League, and then went to Canada, and then when he was eligible to sign in the States again, he went directly to the Saints. He took no tryouts from any other team. He said, "I want to play for you guys," and I'm pretty sure it's that guy.
He's playing out of his mind. I've sadly watched as much all 20. I've been forced to watch as much all 22 of the Saints as I have the Colts this season, but I can tell you that he's playing out of his mind. I don't know when Keenan Lewis is coming. Is Keenan Lewis coming back this week? I know he's coming back soon, but their secondary, besides him, secondary's iffy. They can't rush the passer. I really like this matchup. I think this actually may be our best win of the season.
The NFC South has two teams. The Panthers are still undefeated, right? And the Falcons only have one loss. But
Yes.
it's still, in my opinion, not a very talented division. I don't even think that the Panthers and Falcons are as good as their records suggest. If you look at who the Panthers have played, it's like a pretty cupcake schedule. And there are a lot of bad teams in the NFL right now, so I'm not really going to blame anyone for not playing great ones. But I'm not super. We suck, so I should be worried, but it's not like that much harder generally than the AFC South.
But besides Stephon Anthony, who's playing very well, another guy.
Yeah.
But their defensive line, I really think. I think this is a good game. Gore went to 98 yards, right? He hasn't gone over 100 yet, right?
Right.
All right. I think this is the game he goes 100, 120 because they just can't stop anything.
I did look it up. Delvin Breaux is the guy who was the Arena League football player, CFL player, went straight to the Saints, and he is PFF's number 10 cornerback, right in between Darrelle Revis and Rodgers Cromartie. Very impressive. I had no idea.
This whole podcast, all I've been doing is just doing the shrug, but I've just been heard, and I've seen he's playing out of his mind. He's going up against the number one guys because Keenan Lewis is out, Jarius Byrd isn't back, Kenny Vaccaro, who knows what he is. So that whole secondary's gone on the shoulders of Delvin Breaux, and he's holding up. And the team has no pass rush either.
Jarius Byrd.
Has he been good at all for them at any point?
No, he was awful last year, and he's injured now.
Wow.
And Kenny Vaccaro had a horrendous sophomore slump, and who knows what to think of him now.
That team's just falling apart, man.
If I remember correctly, when we signed Carter and they signed Bro, I remember Saints Twitter being like, "Oh yeah, well check out this video," and it was like Deron Carter getting absolutely schooled by like the 5'10" Delvin Breaux, and he's like 6 foot. Well, I think they said he was 6'6", but I think he actually was 6'3", something like that. But he wasn't nearly as tall as they said he was. But he was absolutely dominating him, and so But he wanted to play in New Orleans. We didn't really have a chance with him there, but yeah, I think what you guys have said is pretty fair. Like, it's a team that's falling apart. I'm pretty sure their left tackle's hurt. I'm pretty sure the rest of their offensive line is really terrible.
Pete is starting at left tackle. Max Unger.
I thought Pete was hurt.
It was Teron Armstead who got hurt.
Oh, okay.
And then, you think let me rephrase that. Both Seattle and Saints lost the Jimmy Graham trade. Like, both teams are. Seattle's done a little bit with them, but they're not doing what Sean Payton used to do. And Max Unger is playing atrocious right now. So that's what I'm saying. I think this really matches up for us very, very well.
And it's at home, so that helps as well.
Mm-hmm.
It'll be interesting to see just what happens if they continue to run the short passing offense that they started with Hasselbeck, and if they can execute that any better. If Luck gets healthier, there are some storylines to watch, like just over the next few weeks.
I think he's going to have a lot of time in the pocket. Rob Ryan, he hasn't been blitzing as much this year. I think he's just kind of accepting the fact that no one's going to get there. So,
that's so sad.
Extra time in the pocket, and I think even if Delvin Breaux locks down Moncrief or Hilton, we still have the other one.
Is their best pass rusher Kikaha?
Yeah, Kikaha is playing really well.
Yeah, and if he gets a sack, I'm totally going to be like, I told you also, because he was probably my favorite. He was one of my favorite pass rushers
Yeah,
Like,
you'll have to tell me that because I didn't actually like him that much.
I mean,
I know.
The Saints drafted really well this year. It's just
Yeah.
all the dead money that they have on their cap and just the overturning roster. The coaching staff's not good, so.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny because I was all about, like, earlier when I was talking about pass rushers, athletic guys, and Kikaha was like the exact opposite of that. He was a technician, but like he's
the outlier. Yeah.
He was like one of the best technicians in the draft.
I think pass rush. I thought he was like a late second rounder, early third round guy. I can't remember exactly where I had him, but
I mean that's right, pretty much where he went. He went like middle second.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah.
He's like 40 something.
Yeah. Yeah, the Saints had Anthony, Kikaha, and then
Grayson.
And then who?
Grayson.
Yeah.
And then they got
I liked him a lot.
There wasn't Derek Lott, it was the other guy I think
Davis Toll.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you want to talk about combine freak. I mean,
he's hurt.
I know he's hurt, but
I think he's on IR, right?
I heard he lit it up in preseason. I don't know why this is a Saints podcast now.
Hey, we're playing.
It was a Patriots podcast a second ago.
Yeah.
But
we're playing
before that.
It's fair. It's fair discussion. I'll be honest. I mean, being from Indiana, both my parents went to Purdue. I met Drew Brees when I was a little kid. He signed my Purdue jersey. I have a Purdue Saints. I have a signed Purdue Saints jersey in my house. I have a signed Brees Saints jersey in my house. Like I like Drew Brees, just because when I was a little kid, he like singled me out. It was one of those like, "Hey kid" moments. He was like, "Hey buddy." I mean, I was little, but I mean, it was still really cool, and I like him. But I mean, he's another one of those quarterbacks who's come down towards the end of his career. Sean Payton and him aren't jiving on the play.
Drew Brees isn't playing as bad as the Saints are. But, I mean, like I said, like my best friend here, he's kind of on draft Twitter, kind of not. But, I mean, he just says Sean Payton has lost it. Like, he's just not a good coach anymore.
Well, maybe it's just because, like, the things that they were really good at a few years ago is not what they're doing right now because they're not able to. And sometimes
it's almost like that's what Pep Hamilton's doing.
Yeah, not all coaches are good at everything. In fact, I would say almost all of them aren't good at everything. Most of them are only good at a couple of things, and they succeed in that enough to the point where they get hired into the NFL, and then they try to make that work. And sometimes it will, and they'll get really famous, and they'll get promoted, and maybe they'll even run that for the rest of their career, and it'll go great, and they'll end up in the Hall or something, and they'll win a Super Bowl. But most of the time, they'll have to do something else, like what Pep is doing, and they're not well suited for that. They're just like players, you don't ask them to do things that they're not good at.
Yeah. Ending shots right before we go. Real quick, Brian, if next year Pagano's fired, Sean Payton's fired, Sean Payton is the head coach of the Indianapolis Colts.
Please,
yes or no?
I'd rather have Pagano.
All right. Garrett?
I think I'm a little higher on him, although, to be fair, I don't know as much about the Saints in recent years as Brian does. And also, I don't think that's what he used to be really good at. Payton would work that well here, especially since all that, like, we can't even execute a basic screen pass.
All right, fair. So I guess we'll wrap it up tonight. Thanks everybody for listening. We'll be back next week, and I think we've got I think we might be having an article or two come out this week. And as always, breakfast is always served Sunday mornings from Draft Indy. So, check those out. Go back and read some past ones, and you can see if we were close or not to the outcomes of the game. My Bills one was way off. My Patriots one was pretty spot on, but that's beside the point. But anyways, we'll see you guys next week. Have a good week.